guy up here that I really like, Vince Sheehan. Vince was a fireman, San Francisco fireman. A good fireman. Well liked by his co-workers and all that. It was getting close to time for Vince to retire. So the guys at the firehouse that he was in, a lot of them were on AA. And they knew Vince drank an awful lot. And so they suggested to Vince, they said, you know, Vince, before you retire, you ought to take advantage of the fire department's program here and go on up there to Calistoga and learn a little bit about that alcoholism. It might do you some good. And Vince came up here for a month. And what a guy. Everybody loved Vince. And that he loved AA. Good God Almighty. He went berserk over it, you know. He was just almost fanatic. You know, he got to be a pain in the neck after a while. You know, always wanted to go to meetings, always doing it. And he was just so happy. And about 7 months went by and it come time for his retirement. Vince came to me one day and he says, boy, I got a hell of a problem. He says, I'm retiring. Did you hear that the guys that I worked with are going to give me a testimonial dinner? And I said, yeah, I heard about that. I said, they usually do that for all the guys, don't they? And he said, yeah. And he says, you know what it's like? It's just a big drunken brawl. That's about all it is. And he says, these will be guys that are retired, and guys that I've worked with over the years, and guys that I still work with, and things like that. All of the men that I've known working for the San Francisco Fire Department. He said, I want your permission to be able to drink for one more night. And I said, why? What the hell do you mean one more night? He says, there's no way I could go to that testimonial and not take a drink with these guys that I've worked with all my life, actually risk my life. And he wasn't trying to be dramatic or anything like that. He said, I just have to drink one more night. Well, if there ever was a time when I would have said, go ahead, it was right then and there. What I'm ashamed of is I didn't say it strong enough, I guess. Because, you know, I felt almost as though he had a right to drink. I said, Vince, you know what the program tells you, you know, one drink is too many and 1,000 ain't enough, I said. There's no guarantee what's going to happen to you, Vince, if you drink again. And I just said it half-heartedly, you know, not really meaning it. And Vince went to his testimonial. They had it at the Italian-American Club there in North Beach. And Vince Sheehan died about 9 weeks later. They found him dead up in the Haight-Ashbury district in an apartment, some hippie on Waller Street. Vince Sheehan never got to cash a retirement check. He had put a down payment on a place over in Sonoma by Glen Ellen. He was a good carpenter, too, besides being a fireman. He was going to remodel this house, and he had a daughter who had a little son. Vince's idea of retirement was to fix up that farmhouse and live there himself and have a couple of horses and have the little grandkid come up there on the weekends and stay with his grandpa, you know, and that's how he'd retire. And Vince never cashed a check. His first and only retirement check came here because he used this as an address until he was going to get started. And again, you know, it seems so wasteless, you know, almost a man's entire life, you know, his entire dream, you know, a good man, not a bum, not anything that's a cancer on society, just a good man, a contributor. And he had to drink some more, and that desire to drink killed him.